Well, good morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever time of the day it is. Boys, we've hit 40 episodes. We've done this for 40 weeks on the bounce. We have not missed a week. We've done extra stuff some weeks. 40. And it's the end of the year.
40 is the new 30.
It is. And sadly, well, Chunt and I are on our way towards 40. So, you know, you've still got a little bit of catching up to do. You get to do 30s first. Chunt, you more so than I, but we'll not open that kind of worms. So interesting week, boys. We'll caveat this whole episode by saying, you know, this is going to be our last episode of the year. Chunt, you're going away to see your family this coming Friday.
Yeah, finally.
And I'll be having a Christmas break as well. And Dan, you just get to have one. Because neither Chunt or I are going to be around.
I'm going to try and make at least one video, maybe two, so we can still have something go out. But yeah, well, I had a pod for the year. I had a couple of ideas around something we could maybe do in the week, if possible, before we go off on annual leave. Annual leave sounds like a fucking job. We wish. Before we both go off on holiday, and spend time with our families and friends. But we can discuss that off there. This week, boys, there has been a good bit of stuff going down. Dan, you and I are playing Cyberpunk, so we're going to talk about that. Chunt, I'm sure you've seen some stuff that makes you have an input, at least on the Cyberpunk conversation, in the fact that probably you've made the right decision.
Yes.
And not only that, but the Game Awards happened last night for me, this morning for you, last night for you. I don't know. Wherever you are in the world, it happened in the last 24 hours. Be 72 hours by the time you see this, but for us kind of reacting, it's been 24 hours past. Some trailers there that, Chunt, I know you'll have been impressed with. Dan, and I think a couple of things that probably tickled your fancy as well. So let's start, as we do every week, with what we've been playing. And we'll go to Chunt first, because Dan, I'm pretty sure you and I have just been playing the same thing. Mr. Chunt, over there in your Xbox jungle, which I'd like everybody to pay attention to. What have you been playing this week?
Oh, actually, a bit of Skyrim. Went back to that. I've just got a bit of Skyrim mood going on. Bit of Power Rangers. Have released Scorpina on the Power Rangers fighting game. They keep updating that game. It's so good. I didn't expect that game to last very long at all, but it's got quite the following behind it, which is makes me happy. Besides that, Marvel Ultimate Alliance. No, not Ultimate Alliance. Was it Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3? I booted that up. Give that a go. Just churning out some fighting games. Clearly, I'm in a fighting mood. But yeah, that's about it, really.
Interesting point on the Power Rangers thing, just to kind of raise up now. I still haven't forgotten my idea about a Power Rangers like RPG that would be amazing. I think about it regularly,
yes.
You know, like the loot mechanics and the different things that you could do. I reckon we could comfortably write a Power Rangers game, Chunt. What do you reckon?
Hell yes. I want it right up my ass.
Let's do it. We'll write it and we'll pitch it to nobody. Or pitch it to everybody and get no's from everybody, because it'd be so cool, man. Dan, other than the aforementioned Cyberpunk, have you been playing anything this week?
No, well, I played a little bit of Madden again. What I will say, it's because the PS5 updates happen and it's using the dual sense. It's really weird, especially going from that to Cyberpunk and starting to play games that don't have the dual sense support put into it. Like, it feels really weird going from a game like even Madden, where as soon as you catch the ball and you're running, you're feeling the feet on the grass every single time, like they take a step, stuff like that. And then you go to a game that's using it just as regular rumble. It's a very weird sensation, going from one to the other. But yeah, the other one is Cyberpunk. Yeah, I've only played about 2 hours or so it's not really. Yeah, I'll let you go first, Jamie. You'll have more to say on Cyberpunk. And I'll add to it.
We'll talk about Cyberpunk kind of after this, just because I think it deserves a bit of context around kind of what's gone on this week, the reception to it in general, and then our kind of initial thoughts, because I'm not too far in myself. I'm 7 hours in on Xbox, and I also installed it on PC because I was very disappointed with, even on the Series X, how muddy the game looks, and the fact that, you know, to make it look half decent, you can only still run at 30, which my brain just can't comprehend it anymore. Like, I need everything at 60 because it makes me feel sick. The stuff that they use to, motion blur and things like that. And if you then turn that off, yes, you get a bit better performance and blah blah blah. But as I said, we'll go on to that in a bit. I've played some other stuff this week. I finished Spider-Man. I finished Miles Morales' main story. I did that way earlier in the week. I feel like, it was very close to when we last obviously spoke. But did I speak about it last week? I don't think so. No. I spoke to you guys about it. I know that much. But I was pretty underwhelmed. And Dan, I agree with your kind of point back to me that was I did play Spider-Man and all of the DLC a few months ago. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And maybe not enough time has passed and kind of the formula hasn't changed too much. I started noticing after the main campaign as well, because I went back and just started doing some of the side stuff, that it borrows very, very, very heavily in the side content from the main game, which is always going to. Very interested with the premise they've set up after the fact. Again, I know it's very new, so we won't go into spoiler territories, but the way that it does set up the continuation of their Spider-Man universe for the video games is pretty cool. And Dan, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on where you think that's going to go, but that can maybe be something we do as a download in soon thing, even though it's going to be way out in the future, because as I said to you, I hope this game kind of goes away now for like 3 years, 4 years even. Just let's have a bit of a Spidey break, let it feel new again, and go from there. The other thing that I played a bit of this week was I booted up Viva Pinata Trouble in Paradise for no reason other than I was just like, I'm bored, I need to pass. I think it was the other night when I was saying to you guys, like, I'm just waiting for Cyberpunk to unlock, so I played like 4 hours of random games, including a couple of hours of Spider-Man. So I played a little bit of that, quickly got very frustrated with it. It does a lot of things, obviously, that Animal Crossing has done and tried and tested for years, but it also does them incredibly terribly when you compare it to Animal Crossing. It's very clunky, it's very horrible. I lasted about 20 minutes and was like, not for me, thanks. And the other game I played during that time was Fight Night Champion, which was a really old boxing game on the 360, which is part of Game Pass. And I was like, this can't be any worse than the MMA games. And it's actually fantastic. I think I'm about 5 chapters into the story. So I actually wound up not booting Cyberpunk until, say, like 12:15, because I was busy finishing a mission and that, and I was actually pretty hooked on it. So imagine my surprise when I booted Cyberpunk and it looked worse. Which it did, which was very disconcerting. So yeah, we'll move on to onto Cyberpunk, because I don't think I played anything else this week. I played Fortnite, and I did it just to see if it'd be funny running around on the Xbox, running into people as Kratos. It was funny for about 10 seconds, and then I was like, this isn't funny anymore. I'm just getting owned by kids, and let's stop doing that. But Master Chief has come to Fortnite, which we'll talk about later too. So Cyberpunk. Not to deviate any further. Well, it's finally out. That's a thing that happened. After seemingly a decade of us waiting for it, we've finally got the game. We can play it. Chunt, you've elected not to play it. You're waiting for the next gen patch. In hindsight, very, very good mood. Good move. So Dan, we'll let you kind of kick off then. We kind of think we'll go a bit round the houses. If Dan, you give kind of your impressions and thoughts on the few hours you've played, your opinion on kind of what has happened this week and kind of people's reaction to it. Then Chunt, from a kind of outside perspective, you go, and we'll kind of close with my thoughts. So lead the way, Danielson.
I think Cyberpunk has some good things going for it. I'm not sure how the game would run on previous gen consoles, as they're now referred to. Because I if I was playing this on my base PS4, I'm not sure what would happen to it. But there are certain things that I'm enjoying so far. As you know, I was a bit cautious getting into the world, this type of world. I think I'm playing as a female V, and the voice actress, I don't have her name in front of me, but she's really good, like really good. I haven't met another character yet that I really, really like, but I'm very early on. And the driving, I didn't enjoy the small amount of driving that I've done so far. It's extremely loose. Same with the shooting. It's very floaty, which doesn't feel quite right. Hopefully I'll get used to it, but yeah, just the amount of just trying to line up shots, constantly going over the mark. It's not something I've really ever done in a first-person shooter game before, so I don't know if it's me or we'll see how it goes as I keep playing. But yes, feels just very floaty, which I'm not used to. Apart from that, I enjoyed the character creator. There's things in the character creator where I was like, there's so many options in this particular thing. And then you get down to like the tattoos, Jamie, which I know you set your character up with tattoos and that. And then there's like 4, but then there's the hairstyles, there's like 40. And I was like, I just wish there's a little more in there. In terms of the bugs and things that have been happening during the week. So I didn't have too many. There are ones where I think I put up on Twitter, like very start of the game, there's just one guy sitting on another guy's shoulders randomly, and I was like, okay. But even when I was making games at uni, you know, we'd have different grades of bugs that you'd have to deal with, and so you'd have like your A grade bugs, which is pretty much like game stopping, like it is breaking the game. And you'd work on those ones, and then you'd list all the bugs that you have down like 5 different categories, and you would work on the A to B, and then if you got down to C or D, if they couldn't get done, then that's what you just had to live with. And I feel like that's kind of where we're at the moment. Like I saw there's a whole bunch of people been playing, and random like assortment of trees are just popping up around the world. Like just trees, like little ones, like tiny on the floor, and then just a big plant in the corner that's not meant to be there. Things like that, and you're like, okay, well, you just live with that. But I say that, and the reason why I actually stopped the night I'd started at probably 9 and finished at 11, because at 11 I was just randomly walking during the mission, and then the game crashed. Like, right, well, I'll just go to bed, and I haven't picked it up since. That being said, like, Spider-Man Miles Morales crashed on me once during that entire gameplay, and one of the times in Miles Morales, the audio left, and I just rebooted the PlayStation, and it came up and it started working again. So, if it keeps crashing, that's a problem. But you know, with a game like this, I don't mind giving it a pass for at least one crash, but as we keep going. I don't know if you've experienced those same problems, Jamie.
I have, but I've not specifically those things. I've had a few issues with the 2 like that really stood out for me. Were the first one is there's a scene, and I'm not sure if you've got to it. So it's very early on, but I'm not sure how early it was, so I don't want to kind of spoil anything. But you are assassinating somebody. And you're almost going to throw them down a lift shaft, right? So you've done the assassination, you're going to push them out, like as you do in video games, right? Assassinate, dump him in a bin, assassinate, push him off a ledge, like that type of stuff. And as I've pushed him in off this lift shaft, the lift has arrived, and his body was just stuck in midair, like, but at the same time, like the pixels had kind of warped him, so he was really stretched and just kind of like a jack in the box in this lift. It was really weird, and I was like, well, that's a bit game breaking. Well, not like game breaking, but it's like immersion breaking. Sorry. Another one was, there's a scene where I was talking to Johnny Silverhand, who we obviously all know is in the game, and he was smoking a cigarette, and as he moved his face around and moved his face back, he was still smoking his cigarette, but there was another cigarette that appeared here, and I was like, well, this is just distracting. Like, it's all in first person's perspective, so it was quite annoying. And then the only other thing that I've had happen that I actually think is the worst of it was I thought I'd crashed. So I was in one of the scenes that is in all of the E3 footage and stuff, where you're in the car with Dex and he's talking to you, and everything froze, but I could still hear him, and I still had full control of my UI. And usually on Xbox, Chunt, as you'll know, if you hard freeze, you try and push the Xbox button, you just can't get anywhere. You have to actually hard reboot the console. You have no control over the UI. So I had control over the UI, and I was like, fair enough. So I pushed the start button in the game, and I could still get into my menu. And as I went back out, it kind of unfroze. So I was like, right, so it's kind of like just a real hard delay where everything just drops to 0 and then kind of picks itself back up after 10 seconds. And that's happened to me 3 times. I did notice on Xbox as well, we seem to be running version 1.006, and PC and PlayStation seem to be running version 1.03. So I kept thinking, have I not got this day one patch? But apparently that's just what's going on Xbox at the moment. But in terms of bugs, no, that's where thankfully my issues end. And on PC, the 2 hours I've played on PC, I've actually had nothing, like no issues whatsoever. Other than a few ray traced lights that made it really dark. But I think that's an optimization thing. I wouldn't even say that's bugs at this point. That's just how the RT's been implemented. But yeah, Chen, what's your, before I kind of ramble on into the stuff that I've enjoyed about it, what's your takeaway from kind of the outside?
Oh boy, it's been interesting watching it all unfold, that's for sure. I do feel good about my choice to save myself, for my true love of the upgrade when it comes out. It's just funny, man. Like, I've got another mate I was talking to yesterday about it after I watched Digital Foundry's rundown of the PS4 and PS4 Pro video. So I haven't got their Xbox One out yet, but there's like moments in the game, excuse me, with like gunfights where it crawls down to 15 frames a second, on base PS4, and I was like, wow, and you just know there's so many people out that have pre-ordered this game and are having this experience, or variations of, and knowing that the Series X and PS5 will just be brute forcing that version, basically. It'll work better. People say, yeah, it's passable, it's good, but I wish I'd waited, and I keep hearing that on Twitter and from mates that I know that are playing it. So yeah, I'm just like, all right, well, I'm validated in my thoughts there, but it sucks because I really want to play it. Like, it looks so good. Like, it looks like it's going to be such a good experience to go through. The bugs, I hate that, man. I've stopped giving companies a pass for that kind of stuff, particularly when you've spent 10 years making it. Like, come on, at some point you would have noticed, oh God, this isn't going well. And it just explains the reason why we haven't seen any footage really of it running on base consoles of last gen. Everything we've seen has basically been PC, and it's been very specific vertical slices of the game. I think in the last couple of months, some of us, I know like myself, started getting onto the fact of like, okay, like, we've delayed this so many times and we still haven't seen it running on everything. Now, what does this look like on other consoles? And they're not really showing too much. Like the Night City Wire feeds are all good and stuff, but you just know that they've all been on like optimized PC builds and stuff. So it's been a bit of a misdirection or bait and switch for some. I would be salty as hell, man. If I pre-ordered this, years ago, which I pre-ordered it, last year or something, I don't know, and got it for Xbox One, like even on Xbox One X, I'd be like, what is this trash? Like, I didn't sign up for this. This is not what I was looking at when I pre-ordered. This is not what I was sold at. And I understand you got to withhold your expectations, blah blah blah. It's like, well, bullshit. No, because I've been advertised one thing for 10 years, and now this is what we've got. I'd be very salty. And they've like putting out their numbers of, oh, we had 8 million pre-orders. Yeah, thanks for supporting us. It's like, yeah, but a lot of those people are pissed off today. I didn't expect that I could go into this game with my dick hanging out of my pants, clipping through my pants. That's funny, but still, it's like, come on. It's not an Bethesda kind of thing. I don't have time or patience for that shit anymore. So, yeah, I'm keen to wait. I really don't care. I'm good to go away and just enter back into my back catalogue and play something else for a while until they actually finish it.
Yeah, that's
simple.
Totally valid point. Side note, I was very disappointed with the character creator and the variables that you had control of read genitals. It was a big thing. It's like, you can customize your dick and you can choose like 3 dicks. It's like, it's what you were saying, Dan, like that character creator, we were oversold on that so hard. There's a lot of hairstyles, the faces, not really. I've had better character creator suites in like wrestling video games or even the FIFA games that you can make yourself look more outrageous than you can in Cyberpunk.
Can I get a beard?
You can get a beard, yeah. I think there's 11 or 12 beard options. some of them are like variants of each other. So, like if you've got like a kind of mid-length beard or the same style but super long, that's another variant. Or just
basically
stubble.
like just passable. Like you just get enough to make it look a little bit different, but it's not what you think it's going to be.
I will say to back to your point, Dan, and I think that just for the rest of the conversation, we'll just keep it conversational. So just like countering your points that you mentioned, the female voice actress is by far the stronger voice actress. The male one's terrible. He's actually he's a whiny dick. Like, it's really jarring me, which is annoying me because I wanted to play through. So I'm playing through my male character on Xbox and the female one on PC. I chose the Street Kid path, as you know. We all agreed this would be the first path that we played. I played Street Kid. That's a really good choice. I really like it, and I think from what I've seen of the Nomad path and some of the Corpo path that I played, obviously I played Corpo on PC, that the Street Kid is my favorite starting point. It feels more at home in this world, and I'm just not convinced by the voice acting. Keanu Reeves is, I don't think you'll have met him yet if you're only 2 hours in, Dan, have you?
No, not yet.
So I agree with some of the sentiment that I've read and heard online that he is poorly cast. He's great, but he's poorly cast, because in your brain you're going, that's Keanu Reeves, but you're also going, fucking hell, this guy's a dick, like, which is something that you never have to say about Keanu Reeves. So I suppose it's a testament to the fact that he's acting the character well, but it's a weird choice of cast. Other than that, character-wise, again, I don't want to go into too much because, there's people that obviously, Dan, you're going to meet in your playthrough, and Chunt, you'll eventually meet when you do play through. But the character work is incredibly strong everywhere else. Not a real massive fan of Johnny Silverhand yet. As I said, caveat, I'm 6.5, 7 hours in. The Judy, who's been in the trailers with the brain dance stuff, she is by and far my favorite character so far, which is annoying because you can't romance her because she's definitely a lesbian. So at least I'll get to do that hopefully in the Corpo playthrough on PC. But the character work is really good. Some of the other supporting cast that you meet very early on, super strong as well. So I'm really hopeful kind of where it goes. You'll have seen the comments around what it does well story-wise is by the time that kind of title card rolls and you see the Cyberpunk 2077 title card hit, you want to play more, and not because, I want to be in this Cyberpunk world, but because I'm interested in what's going to happen in the story. I've been thinking about it all day. I've been sat working just going, I just want to finish and kind of do, get back in and see what's going on.
Nice.
It is very tenterhooks in terms of where you're going next. It could go anyway, not predictable in the slightest. I have no idea, 7 hours in, where the story's going to go or what's going to happen. So, super keen to kind of carry on with it. I'm not sure.
It's only like 20 hours long, right?
The main campaign is apparently 25. And again, I've seen kind of people have opposite thoughts and opinions on the best way to attack the game. Is it that you play it like you would GTA or Red Dead, or even like Mass Effect and things like that? Any of these type of RPGs where you start the game, you get, this is your main quest, and then you go, I'm going to go off and I'm just going to walk around and pick up side quests and get taken down the beaten path and just like, what's going on down here? I'm not having that sense myself. I think I'm leaning into the other way of playing it, which is go in, nail the main story, and then play around in the sandbox. Because trying not to put too much on a kind of spoiler thing, but your task at hand is of extreme urgence. So it's a bit immersion breaking if you're then going, I'm just going to go find this dildo bat and smash some guys up with it. Like, that's not, for the character development, you've got an urgent job to do. So I'm kind of more interested to see kind of where that goes. Have you had any experience with like the currency and stuff yet, Dan? Trying to like, buy any guns or anything like that? Because I think they're very expensive. The economy seems really expensive just to buy like new outfits or new weapons, new cars, etc. For the rate that I'm earning currency, that feels a bit weird. Have you explored any of that?
Not as much. I went to the first gun seller near where your apartment is.
Yeah.
To pick up a gun, but I haven't gone a lot through that or through the inventory stuff. What you're saying, it reminds me of Mass Effect 3, where it was this weird thing where you had, the universe ending things happening, and then you're like, oh, and I'm going to go over here and help a friend out and just do this random little quest. So that's interesting to see how that works. When I play open world games, normally it's pretty simple for me. I'll do the side quests if they feel relevant at the time. So if I'm playing through and something pops up not too far, I go there. If it feels like I'm like, why am I doing this? Like during the story, why does my character actually want to help this person or whatnot? Yeah. Then I'll do it. But if not, I'll just keep going through the main story. So
yeah, I had that thing with Spider-Man. So with Spider-Man, I was happy to go off and do side stuff because the story was paced in a way where you were waiting for things to change and happen in the world. And the way that they do that, even in Miles Morales, is really clever because it kind of like, it brings your thing up, your side mission thing, and you have to go do a side mission or do a crime or do like an activity in the open world to kind of trigger the next story mission. So there's a passing of time. That kind of approach here could have worked well for what I've seen so far, but again, we can't really talk too much in depth about it because none of us are far enough into the game. So yeah, Cyberpunk is fun. I'm really, really enjoying the character work. I'm really enjoying where the story's going. The presentation leaves a lot to be desired on console. I can only feel the pain of like the last gen base machine owners out there that have been looking forward to this for so long because. So I'm in a fortunate position to be playing it on a Series X, where it looks terrible, but it looks way better than what those guys are dealing with. And I'm also able to play it on, how it's supposed to be played. So presentation's the thing that's letting me down. But I'm really, really keen to kind of progress through the story because I think that's where its strength is. Dan, have you any kind of closing thoughts or remarks on it?
Well, what I'm kind of impressed with is that it just... world is not one I normally like. The cyberpunk type world is not something I normally jump into, and the fact that I'm still interested to keep going and I haven't been like, I don't want to be here yet. So I'm way early on, so we'll see as I meet more characters how it progresses, but I'm still excited to keep playing.
If you do enjoy it, like if you do enjoy the story, watch Altered Carbon. I know you said that you stayed away from it for those same reasons, but it's very similar in its tone. Like,
yeah, I watched the first episode.
And Sean, have you any final thoughts? And obviously you're not playing it, but anything other than, haha, I'm doing the right thing by not playing it
yet. Nah, look, I just really want to play it. I really do. And personally, I'm a bit disappointed that it turned out the way it did. And I wish I could be playing it now with everybody because of that whole FOMO thing. Like, I'd like to be able to talk about it with friends and all that kind of shit. But at the same time, the older you get, you want the best experiences that you can have at any specific moment. Mm-hmm. And if it means waiting for the upgrade, and then I'll take it. That's all.
Tell that to my wallet. And I think, in close, I'd have happily seen... Knowing what we know now and having seen what we'd seen now, and I think people would maybe have had the same opinion had CD Projekt have shown what was happening on last gen, and even to a degree console in general. If they'd have shown all of that, if they'd have shown everything, every platforming on this is what it looks like and runs like here, and then a few days later gone, we've taken this feedback, we understand that this product is not where you want it to be. This game is not what people are expecting of us. So we need to take time to fix that and delay it to this time next year. They'd have got some stick, but if they'd have had evidential backing to go, we've shown you what it looks like, you guys weren't happy, so we'd rather go away and fix it. Trust us.
Halo Infinite it.
Yeah, Halo Infinite it, but to be fair, look at the CD Projekt stock. They've got way more than 343 have got at this point, so they'd have got a pass. It'd have been one with some challenge because it'd been delayed for so long, but I think if they'd have turned around and gone, look, we agree, this isn't really the stamp of approval that should be on a CD Projekt game, they could have avoided it. But there's a multitude of reasons why that that hasn't happened and probably couldn't have happened. So hopefully the next gen patch hits soon, and hopefully everybody gets some fixes. Speaking of which, while we have been recording, they have put out a hotfix. 1.04 is available now on PC and PlayStation, and Xbox. They're looking to get it out before the end of today, to fix quite a lot of the stuff, including reflections, so it doesn't look as muddy on console. So hopefully that's an improvement. We spent half an hour pretty much talking about Cyberpunk, so let's move into the other stuff that happened this week. The Game Awards is the other big thing that we wanted to kind of just talk about. So before we kind of do the awards part, because Dan, I know you've got our predictions for that and kind of see who called as much correct. Let's talk about the announcements, because there was tons of announcements. And based on the fact that there was tons, you know, anybody watching / listening, you've got YouTube, go watch them. Some of them were genuine surprises. For our case, guys, I think let's maybe pick a few that maybe was like, whoa, like I'm excited about this. Dan, we'll let you go first, because I know that you're not going to steal any of the ones that I definitely steal from John.
Yeah, so it was interesting watching. I kind of had to fast forward through it last night because I got home late. So I was just going through, and I think I messaged you guys early in the week, and I said, you know, I'm kind of excited for the Game Awards, not necessarily because I think there's going to be actually a lot of games that are for me, but more that I feel like there's going to be some really interesting stuff. And, you know, and I won't go through all of them, but, you know, there's like the fact that there's an Evil Dead game. Like, that's not for me, but like that is just out of nowhere. Like stuff like that, where I was like, it's good to see that stuff happening. But in terms of games that I was interested in, Open Roads with Kerry Russell in it, that looked really up my alley. I'm interested to see what the actual gameplay is of it, but you know, it was a nice little trailer. Disco Elysium coming in March. We spoke about this a week ago, 2 weeks ago, when we were looking forward to games coming next year. Yeah, so I think it's coming to PlayStation 4 in March, and then it's going to Xbox and Switch in May or June or something. So excited about that. Crimson Desert looked all right for an MMO, which, you know, I'm not really an MMO type. Seasons coming to PlayStation 5. That looked atmospheric and beautiful. And then there was a Mass Effect trailer where I was like, I already know that game's coming, but sure, show me a little teaser trailer. Apart from that, I'll let you guys go.
Talk to us about Joanna Dark, John.
Oh yeah, far out. About time. That was just such a hype moment, man. Like, I wasn't sure what they were going to show. I thought it'd just be another, this is what we're doing, this is what we're working on, and this is what, you know, who we are, blah blah blah. And there was a bit of that in the reveal, but man, just to finally just solidify, like, yeah, it is a Perfect Dark game coming out. I mean, that's just so cool. It's one of those games that most people know about, you know, that have followed, you know, the history of Nintendo and Xbox and Rare and all that. And it makes sense. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I wish they would make just a new game, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I do as well. But I think it makes sense for them to kind of dip their toes as a new studio into a known property and just make it their own, which is, you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting a rebooted property that a lot of people love. And they're also, you know, coming together as their own team, their own studio, and I can't wait to see what they do. It just looks epic, even though it's just like a cinematic teaser reveal. The world that they're depicting there just looks insane. You know, it's, if it's anything going to be like, to me, that trailer looks like it's, you know, first person, obviously, and they said that it's going to be a first person game, but the movement is going to be important to the game. So I assume it's going to be, you know, parkour, you know, based type mechanics, you know, jumping around, being a secret agent and stuff. And Joanna Dark, I really liked the 360 Perfect Dark Zero game when that came out. That was my first 360 game, and I liked the look of it. Like, I liked her hair, you know. But, you know, so we didn't get a good look at her in this. But, you know, safe to say they're going to go a bit more realistic with it. But yeah, about time. First thing we can finally see from the initiative, and I can't wait to see more. The other biggest announcement for me, there was a couple others there, but for me, the Game Pass reel that they just flick through games with, I was like, oh wow, this is massive. Like, this is the second time this happened now. I bought Jedi Fallen Order, and then it came to Game Pass. And then I bought Skyrim just recently on sale, and now it's coming to Game Pass. But then they started flicking through other games, and they just went Yakuza, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm like, holy shit! I've been sitting here since I finished Yakuza 0, going, I know I've got Kiwami 1 and 2 ready to go, but I don't want to get too invested in this if that is as far as I'm going to get. And then this just answered that question for me in the most fastest way possible, sort of flickering them by my face. I was like, holy shit, all right, I'll take that. So now I can't wait to go back into the Yakuza game. That, for me, that was massive, like, just to see that. And then I had a laugh. I can't say Fortnite, whatever. I had a laugh at the trailer for the Master Chief reveal. Just the animation on the fish dude, I fucking lost my shit. Just the way his face is animated is like how he looked up at him. Like, I thought that was really well done. But yeah, I couldn't get two shits about playing it though. But I think the only one, I'll save Jamie some, but the last one I really wanted to note was the Vin Diesel thing. Like, wow. Cool. Like, Arc 2 is an exclusive Xbox game into PC. Turns out that whole footage was in-game engine, which I was a bit surprised on. I mean, it looked pretty good. And the Vin Diesel character's name is Santiago, of course. I don't know why this came about. I know he's a gamer and he's a nerd, and he loves his Dungeons and Dragons and all that kind of shit. And he's always trying to get himself into that, like the Chronic. What the fuck? What's it called? Chronicles of Riddick. Chronic. What the hell? I just put it all together in one word. Like he's trying to make himself in the video game franchise there as well. But yeah, look, I think Arc 2, I kind of got taken out of it because it was Vin Diesel. Funnily enough, I like Vin Diesel, but whatever. There's a lot more to love, man. I'm actually quite happy with how they did that whole thing. I watched it between breaks and after work, and yeah, like for what they had to deal with, like they couldn't have their big event, they couldn't have their big studio, they couldn't have the big stage with the crowd and guests and all that kind of stuff. I think they pulled it together really well. Like, if you look back at DC Fandom when that was on, I think that's just like legit, like set the standard for these kind of things going forward. And the Disney investors call that was out yesterday, that like 3-hour presentation, it's the same kind of thing. And I think that's going to be more popular going forward. But you did miss that kind of award show feel. But anyway, I could talk at length about the things I liked that I saw, and I liked it better than recent years too, funnily enough. But yeah, without taking up too much time, I'll pass it back to you, Jamie.
Well, you've both pretty much stolen anything that I was interested in, so I'll just touch on a few. Perfect Dark weirdly didn't do it for me. I was disappointed that that's what they're doing, but I'm not a fan of the originals. I played 0 for about an hour and it just didn't gel with me way back on the 360 days. Did play the Nintendo 64 version, and I played it very close even as a kid to to GoldenEye, and I always thought that GoldenEye was better. Like it was more fun to me, so I didn't really invest too much in it. And I was playing like like the Mission Impossible game on Nintendo 64 as well. Like it was all very samey, and I just think that I enjoyed those two properties way better. The Arc thing, Chunt, took me straight out of it as soon as Vin Diesel's face appeared.
Yeah.
When the little girl's face appeared at the start, I was like, fucking hell, that's uncanny. That was uncanny valley shit. For like 4 seconds right at the start there, I was like, what? Like this is like a real time. I was expecting, like a Studio Wales like interactive kind of journey game thing, and I was like, oh no, that's animated. And then Vin Diesel's face appeared, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. And it's just not a setting that you expect to see Vin Diesel in, and like it's just not. It's just weird. If you'd have had Vin Diesel appear in a game in a white turtleneck with a gun or punching someone in the face, then you're on brand. Well done. But yeah, it threw me completely out of it. Although it did look, the animation and stuff for being an engine was genuinely quite jaw dropping. It was really, really cool. The other thing that really did, pique my interest was, as Dan mentioned, the is it called Crimson Desert? So that's been made by the people that do Black Desert Online, right? That's the That's the same studio. They did say that it was a single player focused MMO like.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a RPG, an action RPG. I don't know why that was the terminology they used, but yeah, that really that's my kind of cup of tea. And some of the kind of conversation things that they were showing there, you know, the kind of in-game cutscene things, they looked really kind of akin to The Witcher, like what you'd expect from like a new iteration of something like that. So I'm quite keen for that. And other than that, yeah, I loved the Master Chief thing. The fish was funny. The fish was good fun. Like just like that kind of like jaw dropping moment where you like very Pixar, right? It was very Pixar like. Yeah. The trailer they put out actually with Ninja and the Red versus Blue thing was actually also very funny. Like I did quite enjoy that. That was really cool. Watch it if you haven't seen it. It was pretty hilarious. And the Left 4 Dead, well, I can't remember what they called it, but the sequel to Left 4 Dead, I think that came out of left field. Surprised a lot of people.
Back 4 Blood, is that one or?
Yeah,
Sorry?
Back 4 Blood, yeah.
Back 4 Blood,
Back 4 Blood.
One, yeah. So really cool that they're bringing that back. Left 4 Dead was always good fun. I don't know if it's maybe past its time. I don't know if it's relevant now, although I'm sure it will have an audience of people who still love, you know, and play those games regularly. I played it to finish and then I haven't ever really been back for years and years, but it is a good experience. It's good fun, good co-op fun, good like kind of togetherness fun, which we all need in this day and age. But other than that, no, nothing really of note. Surprising that there wasn't anything from Nintendo. Did you guys think about that? Like I expected something more from them.
From the Smash announcement.
Yeah, I mean there wasn't a game, was there? The Smash announcement is cool.
Yeah, there was that, and then there was like a little indie showcase thing, and
yeah,
the
indie showcase was a nice
it.
nod. But you know, I think a lot of people had kind of expected to maybe see a teaser for Breath of the Wild, given that that's where the first teaser was at, and I know a lot of people were very disappointed to not see Elden Ring, and it's like everybody was told you're setting your expectations too high before the event, but I actually think it over delivered in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
in terms of announcements and things that were shown.
Just to add, that horror game that they showed off, that's made by the
the Dead Space thing. Yeah, it's got a really weird name.
Yeah, I can't remember some planet name, but whatever. I was just like, I'm not going to play it because I'm a sook and I don't like horror games. But I was like, oh man, like good on yous. Like that's why I said in the chat, like fuck you, EA. It's kind of one of those things of like, screw you. You're going to shut us down. We'll make our own studio and take that back. You know, we'll make our own Dead Space. Go to hell. You know, because people love that series, and you know, Dead Space was one of those iconic games, horror games for a whole generation, and it was one of those moments for me anyway. It's good to see, but yeah, there's a lot of big moments other than other years. You know, like I was a bit surprised what they're actually able to do. It just felt like a lot of these places were just holding their cards, you know, until this came along. You know, just sitting down on everything for the whole year.
There was a good bit of stuff there that I thought that should have been E3. Do you know, if E3 had happened normally, you showed that there. Do you know what I mean? There were a few that were like very E3 trailery kind of hype moments, which I suppose the Game Awards now though is kind of, you know, take E3 away, which has been fledgling. We forget, I know it didn't happen this year, but it's been fledgling for a long time. It's been gradually getting worse and worse for a number of years. That the Game Awards probably is now the premier event of the year because it's gradually getting better and better, and becoming more respected both in mainstream media and within games media. So yeah, it was really good. So do we want to just quickly flick over these awards then, Dan? I don't have any lists or anything up in front of me, so I'll pass the cap. You can drive us through this. So we made predictions 3-4 weeks ago as to what we think would win some of these awards. Let's gun through them.
On that podcast, I stuffed up. So when I was going through like nominees and stuff, you know, when you Google Game Awards, on the right hand side, there's like a little wiki thing that you can just cycle through. So I was just doing that on that podcast. So there's actually a bunch of categories that we didn't even go over.
All right,
so
just go over the ones we did.
Yeah. So all right. So Game of the Year, the winner was The Last of Us, and all of us picked Animal Crossing. So I'm happy The Last of Us won, but we all picked Animal Crossing because we thought they were going to go over the year. Art direction. Jamie went Ori, Chunt went Final Fantasy, and I went Hades, and Ghost of Tsushima won. So
Nice.
We're off to a great start.
we're not doing well. We're not doing well, boys. Next, best narrative. Jamie went Hades, Chunt Final Fantasy, and I went The Last of Us, and The Last of Us won. So happy about that. Ongoing game. Jamie and Chunt, Destiny 2. Me, Fortnite, No Man's Sky. I thought that was actually kind of cool. Like, they've worked so hard to bring that game back from the brink. Like, I don't know. I was happy to see them.
It's a redemption story. You could see.
Yeah, I agree, but I also think it's bullshit. There's an element of embellishment going on with that award win, and I think even Sean Murray thought that. He was like, "What the fuck?" He spat his beer back out. He was like, "What?" He was
yeah, that was great.
We never beat Fortnite. Nothing beats Fortnite.
What do we have? So next game I have here is the best action game. Jamie, you went Hades and I went Hades. Chunt, when I went back over the podcast, Chunt actually didn't answer this question. So I feel like we can just give Chunt Hades on this one because we both did.
Yeah, I'll take it, yeah.
And the winner was Hades. Role-playing game. What did I do? Sorry. Okay, so role-playing game. Jamie and I went Persona 5 Royale, and Hunter went Final Fantasy Remake, and Final Fantasy Remake took the win.
Damn straight it did.
As the Game Award went through, I was like, this feels like Final Fantasy is going to get this one. You guys can always jump in too if you want to speak about any of these ones. Audio design, you both went for Doom Eternal, I went for Last of Us Part 2, and Last of Us Part 2 won. Independent game, you guys went Fall Guys, I went Hades, and Hades won.
Oh, that's right.
Multiplayer, Jamie went Valorant, Chunt went Animal Crossing, I went Fall Guys, and Among Us won. Action adventure, Jamie Spider-Man Miles Morales, Chunt went with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I went with The Last of Us Part 2, Last of Us Part 2 won. Fighting game, we all went Mortal Kombat won.
Yeah, hands down.
Games for Impact, you boys went Tell Me Why, I went Kentucky Route Zero, and Tell Me Why got the win. I was kind of happy for it to get that win. I think it was that or Spiritfarer was kind of between those two in the end.
Yeah, for sure.
Community support, we went Fall Guys won. Their social media was just way too funny to not give it to them. Family game, we all went Animal Crossing won. And then best performance, Jamie, you went Miles Morales, and Chunt went Miles Morales. I went Ellie from The Last of Us, and Laura Bailey as Abby got it from The Last of Us. So the categories that we didn't vote on was game direction, score and music, best VR, accessibility, sim, sports, racing, content creator. Well, we talked about content creator, but I didn't actually write it down. And Valkyrie won, which I don't think any of us even mentioned anyway.
Yeah, a lot of people like, who is that? And I watched her speech and was like, do you not give a shit? Like, she just seems like she just was like, yeah, thanks, I guess. So I don't really know what to say. Like, just really passe about the whole thing. I was like, fuck you, man. Like, so many other people would have deserved that, but whatever.
Yeah, I feel like Alana was really hard done by with that. Given it was for doing, doing good things in the community for the industry,
not just existing with a high number.
Yeah, I know she does do some charity stuff. She does get involved with a lot of the 100 Thieves charity stuff. She's not a terrible creator by any stretch of the imagination. She's very good at what she does. She's very good looking while she does it. That's the reason that she won the award. No, she's wicked. She's not a streamer that I'd watch or pay too much attention to, other than the fact that she's part of the 100 Thieves thing. But
I'm surprised The Last of Us didn't win that category as well.
Best content creator.
May as well. They're in everything else.
Our best social, just Neil Druckmann being a dick on Twitter.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Well, we have.
And the last one, the best debut game was Phasmophobia. No,
Well,
that was the
them,
awards.
Them game awards. They happened for another year.
I don't think there was any like really like shocking win, right? Like even the ones that I thought
No Man's Sky was the
picked
most
Hades.
shocking. Like genuinely, I was like, "What?" I was like,
Yeah, but I'm not mad. Like I'm not mad about
no,
it.
like it's weird.
Like art direction, like Jamie, you and Ori, Chunt went Final Fantasy, I went Hades, and Ghost of Tsushima won, and I don't think
We don't disagree with that. Yeah, even I don't disagree with that, and I've only played the first hour. Like, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah, so I think they did.
I just don't agree with The Last of Us winning all those awards. I think it's just heavily overrated, but whatever. I mean, he's good mates with Jeff Keighley, so Jeff Keighley's mates award show.
What did Jim Sterling call him? The Video Game Advertisement Awards.
Yeah,
which is basically what it was. I was cracking up. I was messaging you at the time, Chunt, when they had like 6 banging trailers, and it was like boom, 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 boom for like 15 solid minutes. It was like, well, that's pretty cool. That's also quite cool. That's neat. We didn't know about that. And then all of a sudden it's like, and here's these 6 awards in 30 seconds. Jeff Keighley just rattles off the winners of all these awards. And I was like, yeah, this is a marketing thing. This is not an award show.
Either.
It was quite amusing. But we're coming up on an hour-ish, 51 minutes, boys. So we'll start winding down. I think it's just worth us saying thank you to anybody that's kind of watched or joined and participated in any comments or viewed episodes this year, and keeping them numbers of ours at a similar level. We can't attest to have grown, but there's always the same kind of people that come back week in, week out, and that's nice. It's like we said when we started this, it wasn't actually something we were doing for anybody else. It was something we were doing to make sure that the 3 of us kind of caught up and nerded out over video games once a week. Now we're no longer in the same country, and we it's good for us. It's been great, obviously, through the whole quarantine period, and the fact that we're all trapped indoors, that we can do this and kind of just put the world to rights and talk about shit that we enjoy. It's good fun for us. And yeah, if you've kind of joined and been part of that, either in the comments or just by watching, then thank you for doing so. Hope you continue into next year. As Dan said, we'll have some kind of content go up between now and the new year, and the podcast should be back the first week of Jan. But yeah, thank you to you boys as well. Like it keeps me sane talking about this kind of shit. I look forward to it every week. It's nice to go, that's an hour that I get to sit on camera and talk, and it's not for work. It's nice to know that's there. So yeah, thank you to 100%. Everybody that's been a part of it. Thank you, boys. We will see you in 2021. Have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and please come back and join us in the new one, and keep on washing your hands.
Bye.